Marketing is all about making positive change happen. Why there should be any shame in me telling who I am, what I like? If you want people to be interested in you, you've got to be interesting.
And what if everybody loves it?
The biggest fear, isn't it? That keeps us in. What will other people think? What if they laugh? You have to learn the rules. You have to play the rules. You have to master the rules. And then you break and make your own. So surround yourself with a bit of craziness and they will ensure that you don't shy away.
When you have your eye contact with yourself, then you realize whether you're right or wrong. How are you, carving a space with the creativity and such a reflection and still managing all the ventures together?
If you're a master of your time and you know what to say no to, you'll have all the time in your world to do what you want.
What was those failures or setbacks that have shaped you who you are right now? Welcome back to the Collaborative Canvas podcast. Today, we are not just talking business. We are uncovering the personal story behind one of the most unconventional thinkers in our industry, Pravin Shekar. Pravin calls himself a parallel entrepreneur, an outlier marketer, and a raconteur. But those are just the headlines. His real story is layered from building Krea into a healthcare research powerhouse to investing in social ventures like CanDo and KASE that empowers people with disabilities. To shape India's professional speaking landscape, he is the man who has redefined what marketing and leadership can look like when driven by empathy, curiosity, and courage. In this conversation, we are stepping away from the frameworks and strategies to explore the man behind them and his journey, his turning points, and the values that fuels his work. So join me as we dive into the story of Pravin Shekar and the entrepreneur, the mentor, and above all, the storyteller who believes in creating impact by thinking differently. Welcome, sir, on the show.
Oh, welcome, Ankesh. Thank you for having me on the Collaborative Canvas.
So we have been talking to you for a while now, and we know you by far, but I thought it would be a great opportunity to start, understanding you for our audience.
Absolutely.
So how about we know who Pravin Shekar is?
You have only one life. You've got to live it to the fullest. So if you want to describe me, I'm enjoying every single moment, including this, Ankesh, where we are having this conversation. So that's who I am. Inspiring creators is my purpose in life, and we do it through entrepreneurship. We do it through these podcasts, through whatever stream or challenge the life throws at you.
And I could not disagree to this because many things we have learned from you. But now you're an entrepreneur. You've been a storyteller. You've been going to a lot of many places and doing a lot of workshops. What does in your words it mean, and how this whole journey it's taking a shape in its own direction?
I love going back to the Edmund Hillary quote when someone asked him, why did you climb the Everest? His answer was, because it is there. Why do we do what we do? Because we have been given the capability to go ahead and do certain things. We have a natural penchant. And for some it is entrepreneurship, for some it is music, for some it is a mix and match of everything else. But in our quest to conform, to be a part of a group, we kill what drives us, what makes us happy. What if you unconform? What if you break that through? Really find out what drives you. Because here, we are in this podcast, I'm seeing a different Ankesh. There is a sparkle in your eyes, Ankesh. You love what you are doing, and that shows through effectively. And when you find that, and you find there are several streams and you start going through it, leaving behind some of the self-limiting beliefs, Ankesh, you become an entrepreneur, you become a marketer, because marketing is all about making positive change happen, within and without. So if you ask me how and what, I would say, as the wind blows, at times so will your passion, but there is always something that's rock solid, that is something you love doing, that's something that brings you joy. Spread that joy.
And I think you're very right. I mean, considering that, the outlier marketer theory is all about this. You mentioned that, those colors that we were just talking about, even your yellows and my reds, these are putting us in a very outlier way.
Yes.
Your theory has given a lot of people a lot of inspiration as well. I mean, including mine as well, because I never thought that I would do a podcast any which ways. But realizing from those events that we attended together, and when you prompted us to do certain things which are different, we were like a shy away kind of a guy. What if I asked this question? How would it work out? I think if I really have to look back and realize, what we have been taught and what we are doing right now, I may say that I'm probably a little old to start something, but yes, I am definitely enjoying, and I think I'm acting like an outlier. So I wanted to know this outlier theory from the man himself as to
Nice.
where did it actually come from, and how did you, you were like outgoing everywhere. Even in the shorts on with a coat on and on the stage, and you don't care. And one of your theories says be shameless.
Yes. We were born shameless, and suddenly shame was thrust upon us. But my answer to you, sameness kills everybody. So if somebody has to be interested in you, there's got to be something interesting about you, right? You either allow somebody else to define what is that interesting, or you take it in your hands saying, hey, this is who I am. These are all the aspects of me that makes me me. And you put it out there shamelessly. You automatically become the top 1, 2, 3% who take charge of who they are. The rest of the crowd, at least 90% of them don't care. They are a part of the middling many who just want to go right ahead. But the few who say, this is who I am, this is what I am, and you put it through, it becomes very, very clear. Now, I'm going to give you a question here. Who is Shah Rukh Khan?
An actor.
An actor. Who is Manoj Bajpayee?
Also an actor.
Also an actor. But when you look at it, Shah Rukh has got the aura, he's a star. While Manoj Bajpayee takes on multiple different roles and therefore has cast himself as a malleable actor who could fit anywhere. Shah Rukh is a star. Same persons, they've decided that this is who I am, this is who I'm going to be, and that's how I'm going to communicate to the world. And where did the word outlier come from? We come from the wider world of market research and statistics and marketing, that you have general data points and there's always one data point that's standing far apart.
Correct.
That is called an outlier. I am that outlier. I want to be that outlier. The people I work with, each of us have something substantial within us. It's up to us to find it, showcase it to the world, saying this is who I am. Why there should be any shame in me telling who I am, what I like, right? And the simple example I quote is when you go to somebody's house and they ask you, what would you want? If your answer is anything is okay, fat chance you're ever going to be an outlier. But the minute you say, hey, this is what I want, this is who I am, this is why I want it, and next time you come, they will remember. You liked tea in a particular way, you wanted half a spoon of sugar, and you always love adrak in your tea, then I will customize it when Ankesh comes to my house because you've explicitly stated what you want. As opposed to kuch bhi chalega, anything is okay, then you become a part of the middling crowd. So find out who you are, which is a journey in itself, and there are several points. But stand out, stand apart. If you want people to be interested in you, you've got to be interesting.
Yeah, true. But that brings me a different question. So, a lot many people shy away, right? 98%.
Yes.
Probably, I'm not saying that I'm still out of those 98%, but I'm still working towards it. I have a question in my mind that I really want to talk about, but then I feel that, it might not be right question. And what if everybody laughs at me?
The biggest fear, isn't it? That keeps us in. What will other people think? What if they laugh? I want them to laugh. What if we flip that around? Come on. We cannot learn cycling without falling down. You cannot learn swimming without gulping water, gasping for breath, and get over that fear, that small hurdle, when anybody who's helping you cycle takes their hand off. When they know you've got the speed balance, but more importantly, the confidence to go right through. And my job, my purpose in life is to inspire creators, jump over that hurdle, because the minute you break out and come, it's a loop that goes on. And Ankesh, my answer to you is we've been taught wrong things. We've been taught the wrong stereotypes. Because people come and say, oh, I'm an introvert. He's an extrovert. Well, what if I tell you that I'm an introvert myself? You wouldn't believe.
I will never.
Yeah. It's a switch all of us have.
Yeah.
I will turn it on when it is required. I turn it off when I don't. There are times when I want to be by myself, when I'm on a creative quest, I'm on a long journey. I switch it on and turn myself into an introvert. When I'm out there in a conference, when I'm out there pitching, meeting people, networking, because that energy comes in. And energy always resonates. You go and try giving energy to a dead room, nobody responds, your energy is also going to die.
Exactly.
But when you turn the energy and there is one echo, one resonance that comes through, two join together, three makes a crowd, and then suddenly people want high energy, and then you start attracting such people.
And no wonder why most of those organizers love you, because that's the energy which gets created. So considering that, you've been part of those earlier influencers in the industry, and a lot of unconventional marketing was not on the picture those days. I mean, you have to go by the books. You have to be the Philip Kotler of the world.
Yes.
I was looking at one of the recent podcast episode from Nick Hague. I think it's called the World Greatest Thinker podcast. Nick was interviewing Philip Kotler himself, and he mentioned about 4 Ps. And there's another shift in the 5th P, and that 5th P is conventionally different than all the 4 Ps. So considering that you come from those era where people just go by the books, how did you change that story from there, and how people started approaching you?
Right. So there's no going against this particular rule, that you have to learn the rules, you have to play the rules, you have to master the rules, and then you break and make your own rules. So it's a rite of passage that you will have to conform at some particular point in your beginning stages, that because it's templatized, it's a process, you can't talk anything other than the process, there's no scope for newer ideas, you don't have enough experience, etc. So you've got to, even if you have to fake it, have to go through that conformity, add enough value that they know, if I give it to Ankesh, he or she will do it. Ankesh will do it. And at that particular point, when you added value, build trust, then you come and say, hey, I've got this different idea. But you don't tell the idea, you show the idea. When you've made something and you convince the right powers that be, then they take a chance on you. And it's up to you how you would want to go ahead with. Very simple example that happens in most of the Indian households, that you get this rank and you will get that cycle, you will get the bike, etc. Now convert that into an office, because it's the same mentality that goes, that you've proven yourself here, I'm happy to give you that allowance to take that risk. But we need to continue to take that risk, and we need to show, not tell, which is why ideas are dime a dozen. Can you act on it? Can you show something to me that we will go? And I'm going to give you an example here. 15 years ago, when website development for a corporate was a really big project, a software development lifecycle type, for my company Krea, we had shortlisted 3 vendors, and the first vendor came in and pretty much put on an act. Do you know how big we are? Do you know how many logos we've worked with? It's a privilege for you to take us on as a... Thank you. The second guy came, had no clue about, he had not read the brief, he had not seen our website, he tried to ad-lib his way that he will somehow do some jugaad and get. And the third company that came, plugged it into the projector, showcased our website, pointed out hotspots and the problems and the wordings and issues that were there, told us where is the world heading, what we would need to do, and then showed us a wireframe of our website and a sample design of how our website should look like in our branding colors.
So in a way, they came prepared with a sample size.
Yes, and they showed how my future could look like for my company. Whom do you think would have got the order?
Of course.
But how many take that small step towards me? How many steps do we take towards finding out who we are and stamping that out there? We shy away. Why do we need to shy away? So surround yourself with a bit of craziness, and they will ensure that you don't shy away, that you will go right through. And I am duty bound to name one of my good friends and longer time directors, Gokul Santanam, because can you believe, I refused to get on a stage because I had stage fear in college. I did not even go to the cultural meet because I was shit scared, until he brought me out, because this shyness is a sine wave. It's a circle. Suddenly you put me in Finland and say, go ahead, network. I don't know the language, I don't know the people. There is going to be a bit more of that shyness that comes right through. So you need people who know your potential and will somehow get you out, save you from yourself.
And that reminded me, my class 11th debate was all about, so I picked up this Hindi debate called Naitikta and Naitikta, Ek hi sikke ke do pehlu hain. I prepared the entire script, I learnt it by heart, I performed myself, because people used to tell me, go and perform in front of you by, facing yourself on the mirror. So you'll know exactly where you're fumbling. And when you have your eye contact with yourself, then you realize whether you're right or wrong. I did everything which can, put me in front of the face and, the moment I step on the stage, I just remember the topic and I forgot everything. And then I realized, what did I do I think I was not shying away from doing, because I really wanted to break that barrier and get into a mode which can make me an outlier there. But somehow that fear brought me so well that I failed completely. And since then, I never tried myself doing the stage performance. But I remember one fine evening when I have to address the entire team. And that was after almost like 18, 19 years back, 20 years back. I was just given a mic and just get the crowd in the line. And I was like, okay, that's the fair chance. If I lose now, then I would never able to get myself back onto that. And when you're saying all those things that, about how people should take those challenges, you can switch on your introvertism or you can switch on your extrovertism. I can go back into my own past 25 or 30 years of my life when I actually did that. So I think it is all about, how you psychologically prepared yourself.
Pretty much.
A lot of many people say, and I would ask this question to you, Pravin, play on your strengths. But then there are a lot of weakness. How would you actually identify your strengths when you're filled with crowd who would say that you're doing wrong, this is not right?
To a large extent, our schooling system, Ankesh. Where you've scored a 80, 90 in math, you've scored a 50 in physics. And the parents and the entire economy, everyone around, environment will break it down that somehow get that 50 to 60, 70. They're not factoring that I'm really good at this particular part. I can become better. I can become the best. I can use that as my part. No, you got to be balanced and growth. What is this balanced and growth? Right? We are not into investments. And I will do the equity play. That when I know I'm really good, the market is hot, and this is my core topic area, I will go right ahead with it. Right? In business terms, if my weakness is finance, but you say I need to be a balanced CEO, I need to understand everything, I need to have A+ in everything else. Well, who's going to be thinking about the business? Who's going to be thinking on the business if I'm going to be so much into the business? Yeah. Right? That's my part. It's a schooling system that we all conform to. Right? Am I the best financial expert? I've got multiple companies. Hell no. I've got professionals who are really good at that, who may be very bad in public speaking or team or whatever it is, but they are really good at it. It's their job to do it. Right? So that would be my take onto it. And an analogy here on the introverted, extroverted front. Ankesh, what do you do with your mobile phone the whole day? You're on the phone, you work on the phone. What do you do with your phone?
Sometimes I check my emails, then sometimes I check my Instagram. Sometimes I keep a tap on how my podcast overall on the social media is doing. What best can I do? Find out strategies.
You don't talk on the phone.
That's the least I do, because most often I am actually talking to people, within the relation. So if I really have to see my mobile, it's more like an asset to me rather than just
beautiful. What happens to your mobile in the night?
Sleeps.
That's exactly what is the switch. That you need to know when to turn the mobile phone on, which is your extrovertedness, but when to turn it off to go back and recharge yourself. That's the analogy that I would use. And it doesn't have to be in the night. There could be multiple recharge points based on how your battery levels are.
Yeah. That's a great analogy, because yes, I mean, sometimes you get so tired that you really wanted to switch yourself from more. You mentioned about Krea, that, your business, and it is now a big powerhouse in terms of, the clients it is serving and the amount of work that you guys are doing, and pretty well respected into the insights industry. What are those toughest challenges that you actually build upon, and what lessons which are still guiding you at this point in time? Because as an entrepreneur, we are facing those challenges nowadays. I mean, and you have been into this industry for more than 30 years now. So initial challenges and
I can tell you very well. I had a teenage pregnancy before Krea was Krea. In 2000, I launched eResearch India. Newspapers covered it, a big bang launch. 7 months later, it was dead. Because I launched perhaps one of India's first online research agencies, when internet penetration itself was abysmally low.
Yes.
Right? I was way, way, way ahead of the curve. But as an entrepreneur, there are some loves that keep coming back to you like old girlfriends. You can't forget that particular ex. And so for years, I was, talking to my wife and saying, I could have done that. I could have done this. What could I have done? After several years, my wife's an entrepreneur as well. She turned around and said, Pravin, you either do something about it or shut up. So therefore started the Krea journey that almost a decade later after my debacle, it was reborn with online research and healthcare being the core part, then as well as even now, 15 years later, there is a data paucity. There's a paucity of good quality, relevant data as far as healthcare is concerned. Let me not even go into the B2B, B2C space, but here, this is defining stuff. Who sells what is the propensity to buy, where should I set my hospital, when is the next billing cycle going to come, who is the decision maker authority in the Indian healthcare system. And they've had a lot of naysayers because why don't you go to the US, why don't you build something there? Sometimes you hit pay dirt because for 10 years we were building it in India and of course nearby places, but we still are the best as far as the Indian healthcare reach is concerned. Yeah. COVID happened. Suddenly everybody had to do online. Because the first couple of years were very, very tough, Ankesh, because we had to do a lot of education selling. We had to tell them what it was, we had to tell them how it was, answer all their questions, how representative is it. I said, you were doing face-to-face for the last few years, how representative it is. Do you go and check what your field interviewer is doing in that garden sitting out there? You know the truth, I know the truth. But you want me, because it's online, to do a 250% validation, I will do it. Will you buy? Right? So education, selling. And the same thing is repeating now with the newer technologies. Gen AI, will it work or not? Synthetic data, will it work or not? So it's a cycle that we are a part of. But education selling was a huge, huge challenge until for a period we had to give up on Indian clients and go fully outside. Research was still inside, Ankesh, because the education part of selling was 80% of the sales, which means the ROI is going to sink completely. But abroad, we didn't have to. And everybody now, it's again a jackpot. Everybody wants to get into India. We are the most populous. We are the biggest consumers of, be it consumer electronics or medicine.
Yeah.
So Krea is sitting pretty as, to a larger extent, the big daddy of them all, having invested 15, 16 years in building and validating this phenomenal database.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, you made a very right point. This 80% of the selling is basically, educating the clients. And precisely, you're doing it for the third time. When the healthcare research, then it came the online, and now it's all about AI.
Yeah.
But other than that, if you guys don't know, we have been talking to Pravin for almost a year now, and we realized that Pravin is very much distributed in multiple things. He's not just the founder of the Krea, but he also runs a social impact organizations called CanDo and KASE. How about those? Can we have a glimpse of what exactly?
Sure. So after my exit, I took a break, and my wife and I decided that we've also got to do something different. And therefore was born a trust, a non-profit trust called the Social Catalyst, which then started ideating and investing in a whole lot of other startups as a CSR initiative. My wife Anu is an entrepreneur. She's a social entrepreneur, a social worker by training. And we decided that for true social work to happen, it has to be integrated into whatever work you are doing. It cannot be charity. It should be, but for us, not charity, not philanthropy. Can we go ahead and do something that is sustainable? And that is how CanDo was born. And because you spoke about Krea, how are panels built? They have to be individually validated through a phone. You call, you find out, and you invite, and you do the profiling, and then you send the email, and then the double opt-in. For this, what started off as 2 people, whom we hired as visually challenged people, grew up to a 40-seater, and over the course of time, over 140 people were trained, skilled, and employed by the wider Krea part of it. But when we are running it for 2 years, 2010 to 2012, it became an office in itself. And a lot of our clients started coming saying, can they do anything other than calling? So just imagine, hearing impaired were doing all the desk research work, putting the data into a format, which the software was calling, and the visually challenged people were validating, checking, setting appointments for the project team. And then the physically challenged people took on, did the analysis, and then worked through. This is how the panel was built, one by one, number by number. But in 2 years, the word had spread across the market that these guys have a phenomenal lead generation company, even though we weren't doing lead generation. So a lot of clients started coming to us, but we are a research house. Therefore, CanDo was hived off as a separate entity and continued to work with a whole lot more people, continues to work. But during the course, we were recruiting from non-profits. We were recruiting with the specific set of non-profits who had got the confidence, Ankesh, and they came to us and said, Pravin, you're only hiring graduates, you're only hiring people with disabilities who know English. What about the scores of people with disabilities who have not finished schooling and cannot speak English? Come up with something for that. And by that time, Krea had a huge office, including a kitchen, and we for a brief while we were doing kitchen testing as well. So Anu and I decided, okay, let's start a bakery. We've got a kitchen as well. And we spoke to one of our clients, Namrata, who at that point was running a consulting house and doing a lot of healthcare research. We were the healthcare consulting, we were the research partners. She looked at saying that every street has a bakery. Where's your differentiation? And she had just learned cheese. So she said, why don't we start a cheese company? And that's how it started off. To the extent that in 3 months, my auditor called me. Sir, you are running a knowledge company. Every day, what is this 100 liters of milk that you are putting it through? Then I had to explain that it's an incubation. That we are creating something and we don't know if it will succeed or not. We are working on the product market fit. But in the 7th month, they got the product market fit. They hit the number targets. And within a year and 2 months, they were hived off as a separate entity, which is still an artisanal house with hearing impaired people who do not have graduation, who make cheese by hand. And it's one of the fastest growing artisanal cheese companies. So that's where we are. And Social Catalyst is back in action, but this time providing grants and entrepreneurship assistance, because we want to create more entrepreneurs with disabilities who will give more jobs.
That's a great initiative. I mean, when I read about KASE, I was like, how come Pravin, from market research to consumer insights to data collection? CanDo was amazing. I mean, I think, finding people who are in a different psychological mindset because they believe that they won't get a job.
Yeah.
And then you gave them, I think that's one of the amazing work that you guys are doing. But there's one question which I always wanted to ask you, Pravin. Whenever for past 1.5 years, we've been in touch and we've been, talking about both Accurate SAI and many things. I am struggling to manage collaborative canvas and Accurate at the same time. How are you, carving a space with the creativity and such a reflection and still managing all the ventures together?
The worst excuse anybody can give you, don't take this BS, is I don't have time. They choose not to invest that particular time in that activity. Everyone has time. Everybody has time. It's a lie. It's a stereotype excuse that you and I fall prey to, that I don't have time. How can you not have time? When you find something you love, Ankesh, I've been following your podcast. When you invited me over, I carved the time out to be here, isn't it?
Yeah.
But when you don't want something, you come up with excuses, right? Ask my wife. There's one part of the bedroom and one part of my room which has remained uncleaned for the last 6-7 months because I don't have time, right? So you see, it's the same you. You carve out time for something that you love and work with, and you tend to avoid. But bulk of the avoiding, if it is going to affect you as a person, your growth as a creative person and as an entrepreneur, you will have to shun that, right? I surround myself with positive, creative people, Ankesh, and that's an osmosis effect. That it's not jealousy, it's not envy, it's benchmarking. Hey, how do I improve? How can I help him improve? How do we work together? But the biggest part is, if you are a master of your time and you know what to say no to, you will have all the time in your world to do what you want.
And that's one of the book also says, and in fact, I remember the good old saying from my parents as well long back: stay around with the right people.
Oh, you've got to. Because you get stuck with dementors, Ankesh, who will pull you down. This is nonsense. That won't work. Why are you wasting your time? Why don't you just sit? Why can't you just be? Why do you have to try all of that? Stay away from such people, right? You need your close circuit of friends. They will say the same, but more out of concern. Saying, why don't you take some steps? It's a phenomenal goal. And I'm going to give you, and for all of you, one particular tip that my book coach gave me several years ago. That announce publicly that you are going to write a book. And watch the people around. There will be a majority who will say, well, you weren't all writing a book. What has the time come to? And there'll be a small crowd who will say, wow, Ankesh, I'm so excited for you. Tell me, how can I help? I will be there to review. I'll be there to market. I'll pick up your book first. That's great. You have to write a book. You see the two types of people, 95%, 5%. You decide whom you want around you, right? The same 5% will come and rip your book apart. Say, what nonsense, why are you writing this? But that's not negativity. They know your potential. They want you to do more, right? It's the same in entrepreneurship. It's the same in the friendship circle. And once you get that coterie, you can't let them go. Yeah. Because it's give more to get more. You are the same to them as they are to you.
Yeah. And I think that 5% thing definitely worked with me. So whatever we are talking right now, I can easily think of those stories which were part of my life. So when I wanted to start my podcast, the first guest I invited never said no to me. And I was like, at least she believed that we should do that. And
Yeah.
even if you guys actually go and watch, I know what all mistakes I did, but she patiently kept her nerves down and she was
Nice.
participating into it. That gave me a boost. So
Very nice.
very right what Pravin just mentioned, that even if those 5% people would come back and say, this is not right, you cannot do this right, they're not letting you down, they're actually helping you improve it. And considering that, we've been talking about Outlier Marketer, we've been talking about KASE, and CanDo. There's a little bit of marketing and philosophy that Pravin always carry wherever he goes. Outlier Marketer is your signature approach.
Yes.
Can you share a real example that have converted a challenge into an opportunity?
Oh, beautiful. I'll give you a business example with the cheese company, and I'll also give you a not-for-profit example, right? With cheese, everything was in flux. Now we had to recreate the cheese here. Now this is all thanks to Namrata Sundaresan, who's the cheese maker, and Anu, who runs the entire operations. But when you have a balcony viewing seat into the startup that is forming, and the ideation and the brainstorm. So cheese, who will want cheese? At an expensive level, artisanal, it has to be the expatriates, all those here. So we'll look at the consulates, we'll look at all these people, great. How do we create a category out of it? You can't say it's another cheese because 99% of India only knows Amul cheese that you buy and spread. There are so many varieties, feta, burrata, mozzarella, ricotta, manchego, so many more. How do we create a category out of it? And then it came down to, there is something called a rennet that is used as a conversion process. And bulk of the rennet that is used is from the insides of a cow, for its non-vegetarian, for all practical purposes. KASE here uses a fig leaf extract. So it is 100% vegetarian. So they became the 100% vegetarian. They owned that category and had a whole lot of Jain community clients come and pick up their cheese because it is the only 100% cheese. They created the category, they owned that category just by thinking, acting, being different. Classic case. How do you own that category? You create that category. So till date, they are known as the only 100% vegetarian cheese. Until then, people were not even aware that the other cheeses are not vegetarian.
I wasn't either.
Yeah. So that is one. The second thing is, as a part of the Outlier Marketer School, we consult with a lot of companies, most for-profit, but there are non-profits that also come, who obviously they don't have money, they are stuck with the same problems as for-profit entities. And this was a very lovely request that came in, that an autistic, creative youngster had come up with a bunch of poems, which they wanted to bring out as a book, but the challenge was 1,000 copies have to be sold for it to generate the fundraising that they wanted to. So there was me as the marketer, Ravi Venkatramani as an entrepreneur, and Revati, who's a principal and a Rotary person who supports that nonprofit. And the three of us brainstormed saying, the issue is 1,000 copies to be sold in a diary format. They said the poems are in a diary. Now, where do we go? What kind of marketing budget do we need to come up with? And if you see how the marketing goes, people are spending 100 rupees to earn 105 rupees or 95 rupees. So technically making a loss. That's not the case because we need a fundraise. So we had to turn it around in the head saying, you're thinking, you want 1,000 copies to be sold at this particular rate to raise that money. This is your production cost. Also publicity for the creative young adult who's done a phenomenal job. So then we turned it around. Who buys diaries? When do they buy diaries? Diary sales happen November and December for the companies to give it and distribute for the following year.
Yeah.
So we picked up the phone, spoke to 10 CEOs saying, this is your CSR initiative. As a company, order 100 diaries. It'll have your logo, but this is for a social cause. So in a matter of 45 minutes, we got the 10 CEOs to say, yes, I will buy 100 copies. They had the 1,000 copy order for their diaries to raise that fund simply by turning it around and thinking differently. Rather than saying, oh, I'll put Instagram ads, I'll put Facebook ads, I'll go and do all of those things. 0 rupee marketing. And that is outlier thinking.
And another philosophy which sparked my mind is your book, Selling Without Selling.
Yes.
So many founders actually go for the chase, speed, scalability, and you wrote a book about building a tribe and selling without selling. How do these play out into the world where it's a lot of hyper competition and people are still believing that the more, I mean, this is a great example. So
In the quest of conformity and copying the Western marketing asses, we lose track of why are we doing certain things. When you look back, why am I doing this? Why am I just copy pasting that sales funnel that worked for some company in the US? And I assume that the same funnel is going to work for me here. We make that mistake. And second, the bedrock of outlier thinking is use what you have within and around you first before you go out and ask for something new. What do I have around with me? My network, their network. What do I know about them? What have I delivered to them? How can they help me? Am I clear in terms of what they can help me? Once they know who I am, who am I for, what transformation will I bring about, and how consistently I add value, they become an army for me. They go ahead and talk. This podcast, did I hunt you down, Ankesh, saying, I want to be on your podcast? You saw value for your followers.
Yeah.
And so you thought, let me invite Pravin to come and talk.
Yes.
That is the pull technique. That consistently over the years I have added value digitally when we meet. That you feel, yes, a little bit of this has to be shared with your member base.
Exactly.
That is the crux. Now, I did not use anything else. I have only used my experience and my stories to tell you what you would need to do.
Correct.
And that is selling without selling. I have not sold to you, but you have bought me. And you have brought me out here to go ahead and pass it on. Now, what is happening here is Ankesh's tribe also becomes a part of my tribe by extension. Right? And
Exactly.
this is something that I learned from Andy Lopata, a phenomenal speaker in the UK. It is called the transfer of trust. Your followers trust Ankesh, Ankesh trusts Pravin, and Pravin talks sense. Through Ankesh, there is a transfer of trust that some of them will also start following me. Right? That is the bedrock of selling without selling. You can say it doesn't work in B2B. Why does it not work in B2B? Because if you, Ankesh, as a CEO, like my service, and I add so much value that you can't stop talking about me in your peer circle, which is other CEOs who have the same problem, isn't it?
It is.
That is a transfer of trust in a business part where there is no lead generation, there is no cold lead, warm lead, hot lead. You make the sale for me right there saying, I've got an amazing guy. Your marketing is stuck. You're a growth CEO. You should talk to Pravin. You have to work with him. Right? You're not getting paid for it. You don't get a discount. You don't get a commission. You love the value that has built so much trust that out of that love, you want to go ahead and talk about me. That is the bedrock of selling without selling. But can you engineer word of mouth? Can you put in creative contagions? Contagion has a bad name, especially after COVID. But what is a contagion? It's a virus that spreads. Can I put a creative contagion that you can't stop talking about me? And you don't even know you're talking about me.
But the fact is, Praveen, we're looking for speed. I mean, I think this would help us, or in a different sense altogether. If I really have to start now, it's gonna take me at least 2.5 years to be there, not completely there. And Outlier Marketer is almost, I think, how much, 20 years old now?
Yeah.
And 20 years of the time when people exactly know what we can expect from Praveen, which is why they call you, building for anybody who's starting, the new company right now, and he really wanted to scale things up. He really wanted to speed. What is that one advice you would, give? Because this is gonna take some time. People are like anxious.
Beautiful. I have the answer for you. Micro engagements, micro proof. There's no need for unnecessary reckless speed. When you are clear who you are, where you want to go, give me a taste, no? Give me a taste. And if you're setting up a cooking company, I don't want the full spread. There's one signature dish. You send me a sample of the signature dish. I love it. I would want more. I would want more. What else is there? I'm an author. I've written 22 books. Someone who likes one book is going to come and ask me or buy a second book or a third book. If you don't like my first book, great. We are not made for each other. There is no resonance, which is also a good thing for us to look at, right? But you will need to plant enough seeds in the market for people to know that someone like you exists to solve a particular problem. And I have that problem. At that particular moment, I need to come and talk to you. And this reckless need for speed, please reconsider. Do you really want that? And then you also want work-life balance, and you also want to complain about it. Hey, be clear what you want. At different stages of life, you want different things,
Yeah.
right? So when you are clear with it, it solves a lot of issues. But I am a firm believer of show, don't tell. Give micro proofs. Be consistent about it, so that people like. So I'm an outlier. I'm known to be crazy. I run companies, I consult with companies, I go on Himalayan hikes, I go swimming in the ocean. My second music album launched today. I've got 3 games that are there. Why stop? This is who you are. You love creating and you love shaking your models up, because all of them tie into inspiring creators. So who's to stop you, Ankesh? And these are all micro. Am I a game developer? No. I used a professional game developer, Karthik, learned to play to develop my first game. Another person, second game, third game, fourth game, fifth game are coming. By the 6th game, they will also know me as a game developer. That crowd that wants, that I want me portrayed as a game developer will know me, right? But the first time you come up with it, they'll say, acha, acha, theek hai. Second time, yeah. Today, my second music album has launched called Mind It on Spotify. First one, they'll say, okay, one off. Second one, acha, when is the next one coming? Boom.
That's like a lot of resonation here at this point of time, because I think it's more of, how you perceive things. It's not that, of course, if I really have to build a base of 100 clients today and wanted to speed things up, I really have to start planting those micro elements to it.
Brilliant, Ankesh. You really need to.
Otherwise, I would fail drastically. And then I would always, go back with those quotes from Jack Ma with that, I did 98
you're
failures,
right.
100 failures.
And I'll tell you why. I wanted a full-fledged music production to be done 5 years ago. And whoever I approached rejected me because I was an unknown entity. They didn't know. I am known in a small sector, but there's a larger sector that doesn't know me. What do you do as an entrepreneur? You handle that rejection.
Exactly.
So I've got 2 micro albums ready and launched. Now when I go back, they'll say, acha, acha, you've done it. You're not just an idea. You're not a gas man. You've actually proven you've got 2 productions that are up. Now I can look at giving you time for us to have a discussion.
Yeah, great examples, Pravin. Great examples. I mean, signature dish, go present it.
Yeah.
5 years down the line, they would see you as more of a game developer, where you still not being there, but you exactly know how things work, so you can advise them. And similarly, I mean, I think those planting of the seeds are definitely needed, because without this, you would not be able to. We'll take just a little bit of more your personal story and lessons, Pravin. When we, as an entrepreneur, gets into multiple, or wear multiple hats, there are a lot of setbacks and failures come across. And then we really have to manage our time accordingly, because we only got 24 hours. And within that, if we are spoiling our time and not giving ample amount of time to every respective, people or work that we have, we take a different mindset altogether. We believe that, we're a big failure and we don't do that. So what was those failures or setbacks that have shaped you who you are right now?
Oh, quite a lot here. I have at least 2 or 3 business failures every year. I'm also an angel investor. So that goes on. Early part of my career, I used to take it to heart. I used to sulk for days and not look at doing. Thankfully, I'm a part of TIE Chennai, I'm a part of Ascent and a couple of such associations where there are other seniors who've gone through the same shit that you and I have and continue to. And when they get to talk to you, they talk sense. And I've been very, very thankful to my coach, Madhuri Menon, who's retired, my mentors, J. Krishnan, Vishy, the late Durai Todla, who have taken me under their wing and given me some advice. And there have been moments when a company that I have funded, that I have stake in, is turned around and attempted to kick me out as well because of some newer people who have come in. Whom do you go to? And my wife ensured my close friend Gokul flew down from Hyderabad to spend time with me, do some literal slaps and tell me that I'm no good in the sulky mode. I have to go back and fight. And I won that boardroom battle when I go on. Just imagine, he flew down from Hyderabad to spend some time with me to lift me up. And this was 25 years ago. You need to have access to these mentors. You need to show your vulnerability. I'm not Superman here. I'm a normal human being who goes through a normal cycle. And therefore, I need my mentor doctors to assess my pain point at that particular point and give me life medication based on that. Not drugs, but they'll tell me what to do. One put me through on a meditation course. The other said, just run or swim or burn the sulk out. Right? And that would be my advice as well. I continue to fail. There was an incubation earlier this year which came up with something phenomenal in the micro language model space. We were so excited that this would be the first of its kind to come up through. Last month, Notebook LM launched with the same feature that we spent 5 resources, spent 3 months developing. Boom. What do you do? We laugh and we carry on with it. Because you plan something, the environment may plan something else.
There's always a parallel universe around us.
Yeah.
We do,
So maybe my product works in that.
what one personal story as an outlier marketer you want to reveal, which reveals the real Pravin Shekar?
We all fight with self-doubt. We all fight with the imposter syndrome that I am not good enough.
Yeah.
I will do something when I am an expert. I will publish something when it is perfect. But it is all our self-doubt in various voices. That is, in some way you can say, because I'm also a student of applied psychology. I've done my master's in applied psychology. I'm doing my PhD with marketing psychology into human resources. And so there's a lot of learning. Of course, I did not know this at that particular point in time, that we have to kill the self-doubt. How do we kill the self-doubt? With some external help, but a whole lot of doing. So I'm shit scared of snakes. So my chacha, when he came, there is a herpetology, Madras Crocodile Bank when I was still young. He took me there, made me touch the snake, put a snake around my neck, python. I was shit scared. I was about to piss my pants, but that got me a shock treatment that got me out of the morbid fear of snakes. And we have our self-doubt. Why? When you have to do aaj hai, we have today in our hands, you want to do something, you have the capability, do it now.
Yeah.
Why do you have to belittle yourself? There is a whole world out to put you down, to laugh at you, to shout at you, to say you are no good. Why do I need to tell that to myself?
Exactly.
I am good. And it took me a long while to get over this. Right? It took me a long while. I'm living my second life, Ankesh. I've never revealed it in any other podcast. I'm living my second life. Because I was a conformist in my previous life. We had a phenomenal business. We constructed our own building, multi-floor. Obviously, we didn't have money for all the floors. We were constructing it floor by floor. 2 floors were done. And I was there in my other partner's office in the first floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Because it was a building under construction, power was off and the office boy had opened the window. I didn't realize we had lunch together, came and leaned onto it, gave way. I fell down from the first floor into the parking lot. Had 3 fractures in the spine, 1 hairline in the head, was in the ICU for a long time. I was bedridden for 2.5 months. And from that bed, I started another company, which was a phenomenal success. But that gives you perspective, and all you have to do is stare at the roof above. It gives you perspective and saying, what shit am I doing? This is my life. And this is the only life I have. And I am going to go ahead and do whatever I want to do as long as it's legally, ethically, morally permitted. And I have my wife's permission to say so. So I've been given another chance to live my life, to inspire others to live theirs, to do whatever you need to do. And that's the new me that you've been seeing for the last 20 years, because I am a new me. And do you know why I survived? Because I have a big butt. And I landed on it.
Alright. So Pravin actually got this second life because of a mishappening and the accident that happened. But what he's making the point out here is that, everybody can live that second life. It's not about, if we realize today that, we really need that me time of ours, at least an hour a day, we can still shape our careers or our life in a better way. That could be our second life.
And you don't need a mishap for that. For me, the mishap was just a trigger point. And then, for example, every year I go in for a retreat. A few years ago, I went to a retreat called Creative Ghar, run by Arun Verma. And for all of you looking in, check out Creative Ghar. I would strongly recommend it. 5 days with strangers talking about the purpose of life and what you are doing. And I had 15 strangers rip me apart for me to come up with my purpose in life. And your purpose in life changes as you age. My purpose in life is to inspire creators. You are a creator with this podcast. There are several of you entrepreneurs looking at coming up with something new, and my job is to inspire. And I did not shape it. 15 other strangers who had no idea about who I was, no image, because you shed everything when you get into that retreat, Ankesh. 15 strangers, you just need to shed your ego, show your vulnerability, accept it. Because the third day we had to write our purpose, and I've written books. I went in with my purpose, and they all said it's bullshit. How can this be your purpose? It's so narrow. Are you sure? And I was made to rewrite it on the third night and resubmit it on the fourth. And I'm ever thankful to my Nainital 1 cohort of Creative Gar to help me frame my purpose, because now that the purpose is clear, on case, you call me, why will I not come to the collaborative canvas? Because the whole world is a collaborative canvas.
Yes.
Right? You and I are going to be helping each other, not now, 20 years later.
Yeah.
We just don't know that yet.
Exactly. We are in the present environment right now. And Pravin, how these definition of success has evolved over the year for you?
My definition of success is time. I have my time. I have earned my time to do what I want to do, where I want to do, how I want to do, with whom I want to do, without regrets. And when we earn time, Ankesh, which is the biggest money you can earn, that would be my request to all of you listening in on the collaborative canvas. Figure out how you can earn time. I go offline for 3.5 hours every single day, Ankesh. Offline. Removing the watch and other things offline. I may row, I may run, I may do something, I may sit and write.
Yeah.
But when you cut yourself off, you realize you actually have a lot of time.
True. And that's exactly what I meant by saying at least keep your 1 hour with you. Praveen has 3.5, so probably you can decide how you can earn for yourself. Praveen, I got just a few rapid fire rounds, and
Absolutely.
It's been a great personal story that I've ever felt that I'm all eyes and ears into, and I can really easily resonate everything, as you mentioned, because that, I think somewhere down the line everybody lives the same life, and
Yes.
they get the same examples in their life. So let's understand from you in just few rapid fire questions. So outlier in word.
Unconventional.
A book that changed your perspective.
Purple Cow by Seth Godin and Elephant Song by Wilbur Smith.
A brand you admire for doing marketing differently.
Paperboat.
True. Morning routine, first thing you do.
Right.
One crazy idea you believed in that everyone else doubted.
CanDo. Nobody supported it. There's a visually challenged people calling, hearing impaired working, including my own colleagues.
If you weren't an entrepreneur, what would you be?
Global traveler.
Yeah, that's you right now. And the favorite way to recharge outside of your work?
Get bored.
3.5 hours of yourself. Earn the time. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, Pravin, for
My
making
pleasure.
time out. And that brings us to the end of the conversation with Pravin Shekar. So, we learned a lot about, his personal journey from building businesses that challenges the norm, that create opportunity for the communities that often go unheard. Pravin's story is a reminder that entrepreneurship is not just about profit. It's about purpose, people, and perspective. What I love most in this conversation is how the weaves storytelling into everything he does, whether it is an outlier marketer, mentoring, or simply living the life full of impact. And if you think it's that proof that when you think differently, and more importantly, when you actually act with empathy, you can shape not just your career but the world around you. So Pravin, thank you so much for making time out for us and giving
my
our
pleasure.
audience that cup of tea that they actually needed.
Kick in the back.
Kick in the back. and that behind the curtain and sharing your journey, as to how this actually run, honestly. And for everyone listening, if this episode inspired you today, don't stop at listening. Take one small step towards your own outlier path. Make one time out, 2 minutes, 2 hours, whatever works for you. But until next time, this is Ankesh Saxena, and you have been listening to the Collaborative Canvas podcast, where stories create connections and connection creates changes. Thank you.